Hey guys, it's Maria. For anyone that's watching our YouTube where we release our visual for the podcast, you'll see that we're actually using our microphones again. But silly me screwed up the recording, so you'll be listening to the DSLR camera audio. So that's all. Enjoy.
Welcome to a brighter day on the Be More podcast. I feel like that should just be the overarching theme of this episode.
Yeah, I think so, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because,
Life.
yeah, what day is today?
Today's a Sunday. Oh, by the way, I'm Brittany.
Oh, yeah, right, I'm Maria. Today is Sunday, November, what? 8th.
Oh, I was going to say a really wrong number, so good. I'm
okay.
happy we both looked down.
It's Sunday, November 8th. Joe Biden was declared the winner, or projected winner yesterday.
Yep.
So I think we're going to start there.
We are going to start there. I feel like I'm less excited about him and more excited about Kamala.
Go on, you can go on. Because you know what, I remembered last night, I'm sorry, I'm on my phone for the people that are watching on YouTube, because I remember last night typing up a rant that I wanted to talk about today, so...
Solid.
So you can go first.
But yeah, that's, I think, how I feel. And for, so many reasons, but I feel like so many of the, it's one of the things that I have to say, yay for social media, because the images of things are more starkly showing what to be excited about than just talking about it. But seeing a picture of all of the white, gray-haired male vice presidents that we've had in the length of existence of our country, and then seeing a black, Asian, female woman, it's just such a stark difference in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Especially with where we've been in the last 4 years and the things that we've seen happen in the conversations that we've had on this podcast and just in life about racism and equality and all things around gender, race, ethnicity, background, blah, blah, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Pour it all into this tea and it's easy bake oven for anybody who remembers. Put all of those things that we've talked about for the past solidly, honestly,
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, more than ever.
Yeah.
And be well, what kind of possible hopeful solution can we have come out of this? And then you press your button on your easy bake oven and you wait for an election to come out.
And then Kamala Harris comes out.
Kamala Harris comes out on the other side.
That's who comes out on the other side.
That's how I feel. So I feel like that's where so much of the hope and the uplifting and the positive comes from. Am I thrilled about Joe Biden? No. Do I agree? I feel like he is I don't dislike him, and I don't mean this to be rude, but in a way to make this the most sense, and I think that Joe also knows this about himself. When you have massive gastrointestinal issues, you eat something bland that's going to help settle your stomach. I think that Joe is that for our country right now.
I agree completely. I think one of my points here, I'm just trying to pull up this, not a rant, but just my thoughts.
I'm amazed that you could get, I'm amazed that you got enough out to rant about. I couldn't even formulate words about until 5 seconds ago.
No, I think I did this because I was very active on Twitter this week, as well as other people talk. I had an influx of people talk to me this week that I haven't talked to in so long, in a consistent manner, because they're starting to, I guess, get updated on politics and the American, government system in general.
Amazing.
So, and I'm all for...
Which has, been another amazing thing about this whole election this year.
I'm all for basic civic education, as I'm sure everyone that has listened to this knows. Just, knowing what your rights are as a person in this country and just a person in general, I guess, right?
Yep.
So, educating people on that manner and just, explaining what the electoral college is, explaining what the Senate race means for, this country, explaining what a divided 3-branch government is and everything, was so refreshing to do, because for the past 4 or 5 years, I haven't felt it's so bad that I've been so apathetic on being American for the past
it feels redundant, you're talking and or running into the wall.
Right. This keeps I have to 1 second, y'all.
But no, I agree with you. I think that I also feel like they covered it better in talking, actually, having conversations more in depth to explain the processes of the Electoral College, to explain the process like of what it looks like beyond just voting for a president. I think that we've had a lot more in-depth explanations and open conversations about what all of that looks like now, and people have been able to act on that knowledge.
And I think I made a point here to say that like this current like America is run by the young people now.
Right. Oh yeah.
Like, it's not
the amount of voice that we now have is, and control and power and say that we have in things is amazing.
It's incredible. It's like, you know, the politicians that are in office right now, like AOC, Ilhan Omar in Minnesota, like Stacey Abrams in Georgia. Stacey Abrams, I need to just call out because she mobilized like almost I think it was 800,000 people to vote Democratic this time around. And that's why Georgia turned blue at the last, like, the 11th hour. Waking up to that and Pennsylvania turning blue.
Those were surprising.
That was so surprising, and I'm so, like, it's people like that, right? Like, because of social media, it's so, like, democracy is within our fingertips and, like, the education of it.
Yeah.
That, you know, like, our generations, like, the millennials and, like, the Gen Z, like, I think the American democracy is in good hands because, like, people are holding each other accountable now. Like, with Biden, like, he wasn't my first choice. Like, but also, like, whose first choice was Biden?
It becomes a lesser of two evil situation.
I think it was more like, who can I lobby for? Or who can I lobby with? Like, with Donald Trump, like, and his administration, it was like his way or the highway. Right.
Well,
like,
there have been so many open conversations about he's trying to turn our two-party system into a single-party dictatorship. Like, that's very clearly become
his agenda.
Right.
Well, I mean, and the way that he's been tweeting, even like this morning, has been just so authoritative.
I can't even. I don't even want to. Oh God. I'm so happy that I'm not active on Twitter.
No, you know, it's really funny, but also really draining seeing his tweets. I don't follow him. I just get like
everybody else's responses to his tweets. Those are fun.
Right, they're fun, but like, I think with his tweets and just his rhetoric in general, like, if you're for America and democracy, how can you not see that that's not democracy? You know, like, for the past 4 or 5 years, I'm just like, how can you not see that his, I don't know, anti-everything is not democratic?
Yeah.
Like, and not, like, the Democratic Party way, just, like, a democracy way.
It's not a functioning system of government democracy. Like, it's
not American, right? It's not American. We're not in an authoritarian state. We're in a democratic republic.
Right.
Like, I don't know where... just hold on. Let me just get my thoughts together. Because, like... Yeah, like, did you see their speeches last night? They're, like, I don't know, victory speeches?
Yes, I had to watch, like, the highlights on my phone. I no longer have cable because of...
I mean, like, if you, like, go to YouTube...
Everything. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cable also, like, with this is such a random topic. Like, streaming systems, like, why do you need cable?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And I feel like streaming systems are not political, unlike the place where we get our information on the news on media streams.
Like, go to YouTube.
Yeah. Yes.
So I was watching their speeches last night, and I got super emotional. Like, I was like, this is, like, the America that, like, my parents believed in, you know, when they came here, like, and, like, not the past, like, 4 or 5 years when, you know, Trump was in power, because, like, you couldn't hold the White House accountable for shit.
Yeah.
Like,
well, because he would say one thing, do another thing. I think that's not even enough of a, like, discrepancy, like.
Right.
And then 1,000 other different things would happen, you'd be like, what the fuck is going on right now?
But he wouldn't, like, again, to your point, like, he did something, or, like, he would say something, do something, and then he would blame someone else if it didn't work, or if it worked, then it was his, obviously.
Which is the mentality of a toddler, friends. Let's stop for 1 second and talk about, for those of you who don't have any understanding of what developmental psychology looks like, you don't need any, honestly, Pierre, you don't need any background, right? Like, you get to a point where you're an adult, and you stop being able, like, literally just being able to blame other people when things don't go right. And if you don't take ownership, like, something, there's a consequence. Donald Trump is a perfect example of never having to face a consequence and never being held accountable to the choices, actions, words, thoughts, anything, period, ever, that he's taken because he tries to hide behind wealth and power, which is all a fake, like, oh my god, how do I even, superficial.
So I read, his niece, Mary Trump, wrote, like, kind of like an expose on like the Trump family, because she's the niece of Donald Trump, so she knows the ins and outs of that family.
Right.
And it obviously all boils down to child rearing and like parenting, because like his parents completely just did not do anything for him.
Well, his mother like kind of owns up to that in the book she wrote.
Yes,
where she says how manipulative he was in an early stage, and she just kind of let it happen.
And it was reiterated again in this book, which just came out like I don't know this past summer. But Fred Trump, Donald Trump's father, was all about blaming other people and like wealth and greed and whatever, and it just like his children obviously fed into that.
Right.
I did want to touch on like the difference between like Trump supporters and the people that are supporting Joe Biden's presidency, because there's a stark difference between that. So like, I mean, 74 million people voted for Biden, but I can guarantee you a majority of those people don't like him.
Yeah.
So we settled. Like, it's just like, that's the difference between politicians and like following, like idolizing Trump.
Right.
Right? Like, so the hardcore supporters of Trump idolize him, but not for his policies.
Right.
They just idolize him because, like, he's different. His, like, rhetoric is, like, their internal racist
and
like,
that's
persona that's finally out in public.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That I just will never understand. And I think that what scares me the most about it is that people who idealize him don't even have the self-awareness to realize it.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They don't even realize that you're following this man because you are inherently a racist. Like, you don't even have, like, period. Like, you don't have the like, I understand if you're a farmer and you feel like he's helped you. That's great. I totally get it. I've seen so many farmer signs. I understand that you think you're getting the support because of your business. Whatever. But you can't, there's not a single argument towards him anymore that can be claimed as valid. You cannot say, he's different, he's a businessman, he's going to make us money. The man has no money. The man stole all of his family's inheritance from his family, like literally manipulated them out of it, and has declared bankruptcy and spent money not only of his own, but of other companies that he's worked with. He's a crook.
Yeah.
He's superficial, and he just
he
talks
know
out of his...
politics.
And he doesn't formulate a consistent sentence.
Yeah.
Ever.
Oh my
I just
God,
don't
yeah.
understand, like, I don't understand how you could want somebody to be a leader who... Okay. There's a difference between leadership and management.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Leaders lead by example. So if you're going to tell me, and this is the way that I see it based on other people's opinions, if you're going to tell me that you're going to choose somebody to be your leader based on the way they lead by example, the only example that he set has been to take from others, to alleviate and isolate, to create issues, to set up racism and dysfunction and inequality and separation, and that's the only example that he's led by. Mm-hmm. If you're going to talk about the way he manages people, he's cruel and he's rude.
He doesn't manage.
And he doesn't manage himself. So he can't even, like I honestly have to say, when I watched the second debate that he, after yelling, screaming, crying about not wanting to participate in, he participated in, I feel like they put him on, like something to calm him down. Like, he must have been on drugs, because...
This was after his COVID thing, remember?
Okay, so maybe he was just tired, which means, like, maybe we should just constantly, like, just give him a low-grade... Something to mellow him out.
Downer?
Like Xanax or something. But I was like, who is that person? I had never seen that person before.
In the past, like, 4 years, right? Like,
I was like, who is that?
He, like, finally had some sense of just slowing down for a while.
And he was, just, like, complete sentences and complete thoughts. And he wasn't a firecracker that was ready to explode.
Then again, his complete thoughts were still, like...
Right, and any complete... Let's be real. Any complete thought that comes out of his mouth isn't his own thought. He's reading something that was written for him or, like, practiced for him.
Did you know that he's supposed to wear glasses?
That makes sense, because he squints a shit ton.
Because I heard... Oh, my God. I don't know. I've been on whatever social media or whatever news outlet, but Trump is supposed to wear glasses, and I think he refuses to wear glasses because it makes him look weak.
Alright,
that's first of all, as people that wear glasses.
Guys, how do I even start? I have nothing to say because it's not worth my time. You know what the truth is? The point of where I've gotten, the more that I understand, I don't even get mad at the ish that he does anymore, because if he heard anybody say this sentence about him, I think that he would cry. I just feel bad for him.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people do, actually.
Like, and not in a way that I want to support you, because no. But I feel bad for you, because you're a mess, and you have no idea that you're a mess. And it's just, he literally is a perfect persona of everything opposite that we talk about on this podcast.
No, absolutely. I feel like...
No, I hope he gets help.
No, I think a lot of people do feel bad for him, not in the sense that, like, his relating to his political
not
sphere.
egotistical, like sympathy, but
it's more like the way that he was set up for life is what I feel bad about. Like, that sucks. Like, that, like, your parents weren't parents. But also you had the, like, once you grow up, you have the option to deal with that.
Yep. And I honestly really truly think he doesn't like himself. And I think that's why he outsources trying to get
he delegates
everybody else's sympathy and everybody else's support. I think that I think he's a perfect example for all the conversations we have on this podcast and all the conversations we've ever had about self-awareness and self-development and bettering yourself and realizing and facing your scary stuff and doing something about it. He is the perfect example of what you can grow into if you don't do any of that. And I hope, honestly, for people listening right now, I hope you're like, holy shit.
And guess what? You can still be president. Even
Right. You can still be, and that's the scariest part, right? You can still have influence on others. You can be that personally, emotionally dysfunctional and still have influence on others, and that is the scariest thing of humanity. I'm not afraid nuclear bombs. I'm not going to say I'm not afraid of nuclear bombs, because that'd be stupid.
That stresses me out.
Like,
just warfare
of all
in general.
the man-made things that we could create, like, those bombs are not created unless somewhere in someone's brain that level of influence is happening. You know what I mean? Like, that level of, like, somebody is taking so much negative crap, and pushed it into the minds of others to make that process a reality and create something like that. It starts with
just like
this.
Yeah, it starts with the human mind.
Did you ever see, what is the name of that show?
Mythbusters.
Who's good lord. Who's the,
oh lord.
My mother has this really interesting way of, like, casually saying things to me, and then I, like, look into it, and I'm like, oh my god. There's a show that I can't think of the name of on Netflix now.
Oh, on Netflix.
That it was an old historian who used to, I can't think of his name. He was an old historian who used to be a magician, and he used to make prophecies about the future.
No, what the hell?
Nostradamus. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
You know, my dad just mentioned him the other day. I was like, why are we talking about this?
Really? And then that's the way life works. The show's called The Nostradamus Effect. Have you ever seen it?
No, I have not.
It's old, and it's got, like, these terrible, like, you know those really bad graphics where you...
it has
well, no, it talks about prophecies. And one of the... For anybody, if you are somebody who studies this and you happen to listen to this show and you know more about this, please, because I'm all for, like...
prophecies and, like, what? Just this
I 100%... I 1,000%. The more I study the mind, the more I understand energy is, like, the things we think and the things we see. Like, everything that happens at some point, way, shape, or form, there was something set in motion beforehand to make it happen.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I agree with that.
So Nostradamus kind of, like, being somebody who is psychic is having the ability to, like, see the very, very beginning of that process happening before something comes into fruition.
Right.
So he prophesizes that there are, like, these 3 evils that are going to come and try to dismantle humanity and bring forth the end of the world.
What are the 3, do you know?
Yeah. So, of course, I watched these all, and I was like, at the end, I was like, oh my god. And I watched it, like, this one particular episode in the midst of this madness in the past 4 years.
Yeah.
So, the first one, he says it's three men. So, the first one, he describes, and of course, it's, like, deciphering all of his writings and his predictions. Yeah. The first one is Napoleon. And it's the things that he says, right? It's like massive bloodshed, tiny man, big these are like the
descriptions of the person.
Right.
Not like
so like
they named Napoleon.
Right. These are like the theories of what his
right.
But there's one that he does. So the second one is Hitler, and he depicts him as like having
a failed art student.
He depicts him as having like great influence over man and like believing in like a
one race.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't think. There's the way that they termed it, like
one group,
the perfect, like whatever.
Yeah,
like
whatever.
Just distortion.
Yeah.
And then that one's predicted to be Hitler. But now, mind you, this is from probably the 90s that this was done, or early 2000s.
Yeah.
And the last one he predicts to be like a man of the future who is like in a suit.
Man, okay.
Who's in a suit, and like he uses like descriptions of like business and like these things.
I can come up with like 3 different people.
I know. Wait, but here's my favorite part. Is that he describes him, and right, mind you, like this is coming out in an episode before all of this.
Yeah.
He describes him as somebody who has a very big ego.
Okay.
I can't remember what else they said. He has a very big ego.
To like 2 people.
Well,
actually, I don't know.
He has he's going to create mass separation amongst the people.
Okay. Well, yeah. Now this. Yeah. Well, no, there's still 2 in my mind.
There was something else. There's something else that he said, but it was just so weird while he was saying it and being where we are now, and I was like, oh my god. I was like,
because it could be Trump, right?
Right.
I also had Elon Musk in mind.
Really?
Yeah, he's a big ego. His tweets sometimes
he
splits
does
people.
Yeah, he does like to do a lot of dismantling things.
He Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook.
Yeah, that's true.
I also thought of Kanye West.
I don't think they talk about race, but that's interesting. I think the only person he talked about race was with Napoleon. Like he had mentioned like something about like where he was from in the where he was born originally.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was like watching this and I was like, oh dear lord.
Yeah, because like it's vague enough, but also specific enough to
like you
come
can
to
pinpoint
conclusions.
it. Yeah, and it's like they claim that the third at that time his prophecy had claimed that person hadn't come yet. Like we hadn't seen his influence on humanity yet.
Gotcha.
So
interesting. Take it.
Interesting. I love all of this stuff. So yeah, that's. Anything else you want to add in about that?
About just the topic in general. I mean, yeah, I have a couple more thoughts.
Go for it.
I
didn't open my. I gotta open my stuff after this. But you
can go ahead.
No. I mean like the bag.
That. Oh, okay. Yeah, later.
But yes, pausing for me opening my
yeah.
access.
No, I think the main thing with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, like the people that voted for them know their.
Sorry, can you hear my sounds?
Yeah.
I'll move away from the mic.
Like we know their policies and their practices and like their rhetoric and everything, and they do have flaws because they're politicians.
Right.
Like,
right.
Duh.
And they're human.
And they're human. But, and like again, like I said, not many of us like Joe. He probably isn't our first choice of president, obviously. Some of us preferred Kamala, actually. Some of us preferred, Elizabeth Warren, Andrew Yang, Bernie Sanders, blah, blah, etc. So this whole campaign was to settle, obviously, for Joe. It helped that he did bring on Kamala, honestly.
Yeah, that made a huge difference.
I
don't think he would be president if he hadn't.
Because I don't even know who his shortlist was, but...
whatever.
Because, yeah.
Not important.
But it definitely helped with Kamala because she's progressive enough, but very moderate enough that it wasn't like, Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Super, far left or whatever. But, again, the thing with them is that they're politicians as opposed to a business person or someone that hasn't stepped into the political sphere before.
Right.
So we can hold them accountable. We can lobby with, like, our decisions and, like, opinions, like, with them or whatever. So, and with this administration right now that's outgoing, like, we couldn't. Like, there's no movement in America for the past 4 or 5 years.
No, because it was functioning as a dictatorship.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. I mean, yes. Did you see, like, the courts the past, month or two? Actually, the courts the past 4 years, because he did pack the lower courts.
Yeah.
25% of the lower courts, in the federal courts, are Trump appointees.
That's not surprising.
25%. So, I think with that, like, it's just, like, we can hold them accountable, so that means that they will listen to us.
Right.
Like, it's not, I think with Trump supporters, they're like, oh, we got what you wanted, so, like, now, now what? Like,
I did this one thing for you, now I get to make the decision for the rest of this list.
Right, so, I think with young progressives, young liberals, young leftists, whatever you want to identify yourself as, we want change, so this is, like, the time to work and, like, actually, like, do something with our government as opposed to just, like, sitting back and, like, being apathetic on being American again.
Yeah.
So, it's just the start, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very interesting. I think that we have always, and we've had this conversation when we talked about ageism before, we've always been the generation that we really started with saying, like, no, you're going to listen to us, right? And there are still a lot of places where we come up short, we come up ignorant, like, and it's not to say that you don't have a voice, you don't have a say, it's just that
honestly.
you need to educate yourself. We were at the precipice of being able, okay, people are going to listen to us, but now we actually have to, like, utilize all the education and all the resources that we have access to. We are in such a wonderfully beautiful yet slightly terrifying place where we have a voice and we have something to stand on now as a generation, and we also have access to boundless information that can really support the foundation that we stand on when we open our mouths.
Agreed. And I think also, just to point something out too, the younger Democrats we're not party loyalists.
Nope.
I think when you generally think of Democrats and Republicans, I feel like a lot of them, like, if you picture in your mind, you probably think of, like, young people in the Democratic Party and then, like, older people in the Republican Party.
And that's if you, like, use the really
old school
way of looking at it. Because that's the way it used to be.
Oh,
that's the way it was.
I mean, that's why it becomes interchangeable with people that aren't as political savvy to say progressives or leftists mean Democrats. I mean,
gotcha.
Like, it is on the spectrum, like, Democrats are obviously on the left, but being a leftist as opposed to being a progressive, as opposed to being a liberal, are all different things. That's the same thing with Republicans, rights, and conservatives. So...
and it's not to say you can't agree. Like, that's the thing, too. I think that...
I don't mind the Republican Party.
Right. Agreed.
I don't like Trump.
Right. But that's the thing, too. I feel like that's
he's not a Republican.
Another good thing about the way that... Right. He's not... Right. That's a whole other thing, too. So if you're... Whatever. But that's, I think, another thing, too. Right? Look at all of the other areas of life and, like, society that...
Yeah.
I don't even know, I keep saying our generation, the generations, but, like, people under 30, right? Like, people 30 and under.
That,
Like, oh God, we're not gonna have, I'm sorry.
Say
having a moment
35.
where I'm realizing that
How would you say
we're
35?
there. So, like, the people, like, in their 40s and under, right?
Yeah, honestly. More
we've made massive change in the world of, we were unaccepting of fitting into the boxes that were given to us by our ancestors, right?
Right, especially in the political
When
sphere,
it comes to gender and roles in that area, we expanded. When it came to sexuality, we expanded. Because the truth is, and I think that is such bullshit, right? We went from, because we needed to form a society where we came from nothing and we needed to make everything make sense, we made these tiny little boxes for people to feel like they had something to connect to, whether it was religion, whether it was race, whatever. And we were like, oh, we're going to create these little organizational, like, great, like, I love organization, guys. I'm all for, like, tidy things, keeping things collected, whatever. Humans are not that simple. We're complex beings. So you can't put us in a box and just say, stay there for the rest of your life. You have to fit all of these things all of the time. No, we're going to grow, we're going to change. And because of our level of complexity, we're not going to fit in just one box.
No, and, like, the people that are registered Democrats, registered Republicans, just fit
I
into...
hate that we have to do that.
Just fit in... I mean, it also boils down to, like, the primaries and everything.
I know,
right?
but...
That'll
be the next change.
Checking that box whenever you're, registering to vote just means that you are a majority thinking that party. Right? Like, it's not like...
You have your t-shirt.
Right, like... yeah. Pros and cons. Like, my dad's a registered Republican, but he didn't vote for the Republican Party for, like, the longest time.
Right.
Like, it's just, like, his ideals and my ideals and whoever's ideals are majority either party.
Right.
But unfortunately, we have a two-party system.
Right.
Right, like...
And unfortunately, you have to fill out the form, right? Just like when you apply for I hate that in the last 3 years, I've been hating how much that there's something that's like, I'm engaged, or like you're like shared living situation, you're about to get married. Like, we have to fill in the boxes, so you literally fill in the box and then whatever. Like, there is no black and white. We live in a world of gray, and for some stupid reason, when it comes to organizing things, they still expect us to live in this black and white world. You are what you are on paper. Who gives a F? Go live your life and figure out what makes sense to you. If you feel like you're a Republican one day, be a Republican. If you feel like you're a Democrat the next day, be a Democrat.
Yeah,
like,
it's not a big deal.
It doesn't make a difference.
And with Trump, again, that's not a matter of Democrats versus Republicans.
That's a matter of whether you are a human being and you have empathy and perspective, or you think that you are the most important person in the world and that no one else matters, and if no one looks like you, then they're not welcome.
And yeah, no, period.
Okay.
And the people that voted for him back in I can't do math right now. 2016. Thank you. Probably a few of them, I don't know if the majority, but a few of them probably just wanted to see his policies.
Right. And you were like, yay, something different. I'm all for that if that was your belief.
I'm all for that. And then I'm also all for you understanding within the last 4 years that you made the wrong decision.
Yep.
Because
or understanding, like, okay,
Yeah.
let's give this some perspective, right?
Yeah, sure.
If you made the decision, it's not that you made the wrong decision. Like, that's, but you can't now say what after these next 4 years look back and be like, I would make that decision again. Or, because I hate,
no growth there.
like, in the world of, like, being nice to yourself and, like, feel, like, because if you tell somebody they made the wrong decision, then they're going to be like, well, do I have the right to make these decisions? Like, they're going to start questioning themselves, and that's not going to help the situation, right? But, like, you made the decision you made then. Things are different now. Like, you either are going to learn and grow from it.
Or you didn't.
And that's the thing, too, right? Like, if you were so attached, if you're somebody who's like, yeah, I'm so proud that I voted for him in 2016.
You shouldn't be attached to your politicians.
You shouldn't be. Oh my, I don't know.
You really shouldn't be
attached. This is
attached
so
to
much complication into, like, the psychology of, like, choices and, like, being, like, you
Coupled
versus
with-
being your true self versus
coupled with the political sphere or whatever.
Right, like when you put that label over yourself.
But again, you shouldn't idolize, or you shouldn't feel like your politician, your elected politician, especially the president, is like your friend. They're not. They're not, like, that's great if you think so, but they're not. You should hold them accountable. If they're doing something that you don't like, then that's an issue you should
And that I
change
think that stems from a larger issue in our society is, like, we don't hold enough things, like, personally, I have an issue with accountability.